Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching the Breakfast News with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. NDA to launch month-long campaign against Congress and leftover parliament disruptions. Union ministers and MPs to hold rallies in Lok Sabha constituencies. Iran Foreign Minister Javad Zarif to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi. First visit to India after the historic Iran nuclear deal was signed. Ending days of uncertainty, Pakistan confirms NSA level meets in Delhi on August 23rd. Sartaj Aziz to meet NSA Ajit Doval. Ministry of Home Affairs to launch its YouTube channel today, aims to strengthen its online presence. And chemical experts arrive in Tianjin in North China after the explosions left at least 50 dead. Reason for the blast not yet known. Our top focus on the bulletin this morning. The NDA is launching a campaign against the Congress, squarely blaming it for parliament disruptions during the monsoon session. As part of this proposed one-month-long campaign, one union minister and 4 NDA MPs will hold public meetings and events in the constituencies of 44 Congress MPs and 9 left MPs. As part of the campaign, NDA leaders will raise awareness against both the parties with special focus on the Lok Sabha seats held by them. The NDA plans to spread the word that the parties have disrupted Parliament without a case. The decision came after the Prime Minister set the tone by comparing the Congress's attitude with the mindset that caused emergency. The Congress also plans to organize counter-drives against the government.
विशेष रूप से हमारे एक-एक केंद्रीय मंत्री, 4-4 सांसद जाकर खूब बड़ी मात्रा में जनसभाएं करेंगे और ये एनडीए का कार्यक्रम होगा। और जिन लोगों ने इस देश की संसदीय लोकतंत्र के साथ ये आचरण किया है, उनके क्षेत्रों में जाकर इसका जनजागरण हम करेंगे।
That means this is a perversion of democracy. As far as the Congress is concerned, they were trying to belittle the importance of the Prime Minister. They called him names, raised all sorts of objectionable, abusive slogans. There is no question of confrontation with anybody. We will be going and meeting the people, conducting rallies, highlighting the various achievements and initiatives of government, and also exposing the double standards of the Congress party.
हमारे सांसद जाएंगे, हमारे मंत्री जाएंगे और गांव-गांव के कोने-कोने में जाके बताएंगे कि किस तरह से लोकतंत्र की हत्या, किस तरह से देश के विकास के गति को रोकने का प्रयास, किस प्रकार से देश में जो लोकतंत्र के माध्यम से गरीबों का विकास होना है, कांग्रेस पार्टी आज बेचैन अवस्था में उसे रोक रही है। हमारा आह्वान रहेगा और हमारे सांसद, हमारे मंत्री, देश के उन तमाम सांसद जिन्होंने इस देश में सदन को नहीं चलने दिया है, हम उस चुनौती को स्वीकार करते हैं और लोगों के बीच में जाके इस विषय को हम रखेंगे। ये हमारा आह्वान है।
Well, the monsoon session of Parliament ended on Thursday as both houses were adjourned sine die. From daily protests by the opposition to the suspension of 25 Congress MPs for 5 days, the session witnessed a lot of drama. The opposition protested over various issues, including the Vyapam scam and the Lalit Modi scandal, and even a demand for release of findings of the caste-based census. Here's a report.
With most of the monsoon session washed out, Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan expressed disappointment with the way proceedings were disrupted this time.
I had to take this tough action as a last resort and a last option. I'm sure that the chair will not be forced to resort to this step in future. In the current session, however, I am pained to say that we lost more than 34 hours due to interruptions.
The Vyapam scam and Lalit Gate were the main reasons proceedings were disrupted, so much so that 34 hours were lost to the uproar, while just a little over 47 hours proved fruitful. The monsoon session witnessed 7 sittings of the Lok Sabha. During this time, 10 bills were tabled, out of which 6 were passed in the lower house. A discussion on sustainable development goal was also held. The last day also witnessed opposition protests. Parties including the Congress, left parties, Samajwadi Party and the RJD walked out over their demands.
Unfortunately, our friends from the main opposition party have chosen to go out of the house on some pretext or other. So I don't want to pursue it today because the last day I wanted to end with a smooth and happy note. So I request the Speaker that we will be taking up this legislative business in the next session of the Parliament.
The situation was not much different in Rajya Sabha. More than 82 hours were lost to disruptions. In the 17 sittings in the upper house, just over 9 hours of work was done. 3 bills were withdrawn by the government and 2 appropriation bills were returned. The issues of the opposition protests were the same in Rajya Sabha too. But the government was also cornered over the non-implementation of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act, signing of the Naga Peace Accord and the appointment of the Governor of Bihar. However, on the last day, peace prevailed.
Because let us have a adjournment on a peaceful note. Therefore, adjournment on a peaceful note.
Sir, I agree that we should end with a
peaceful note.
Peaceful and happy note.
Yeah.
Adjourn the House to 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock we'll have.
Yeah, we will have Saturday. Okay.
The government was on the offensive in both houses this time. Even as it expressed willingness to discuss all contentious issues, it also accused the opposition of indulging in obstructionist politics, thereby impeding the country's growth story. With inputs from Pranav Goswami and Kriti Mishra, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, after days of uncertainty, Pakistan has confirmed that Sartaj Aziz will come to India for the NSA level talks on the 23rd of this month. The Pakistani NSA said that he will be holding talks with his counterpart Ajit Doval in New Delhi. The decision to hold NSA level talks was taken when the prime ministers of the two countries met in Russia last month. But the final decision to attend the meeting was taken only after Sharif's approval, who returned last night from his 3-day visit to Belarus. Both sides are tight-lipped about the agenda of the meeting. However, India is expected to highlight the issue of terrorism in the backdrop of the 2 terror attacks in Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir. According to sources, Pakistan too is preparing to counter India's charges during the meeting.
At India's request, the 2 prime ministers met in Ufa, Russia on the 10th of July, and they agreed that the 2 national security advisors will meet in Delhi, and so I'll be going there later this month, on 23rd of August.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning to talk about this is Rezaul Hassan, news coordinator, Hindustan Times. Very good morning and thank you for joining us on the program, Rezaul. As far as the NSA level talks on the 23rd of August are concerned, what's likely to be on the agenda?
Well, the 2 prime ministers had already agreed that, the main item on the agenda would be terrorism and terrorism-related issues. From all indications that we're getting from both sides, it does seem that this is the issue that's going to dominate the discussions. We've had the attacks in Gurdaspur and especially the arrest of Muhammad Naveed, a terrorist from the Pakistani Punjab. And I'm sure that India is going to take up these issues in a very, very forceful way. On the other hand, from Pakistan, we've had indications that they want to take up what they call, India's role in fomenting unrest in Balochistan and Karachi. But, there's been no proof that has been provided by Pakistani leaders when they raise these issues in public. So we'll have to wait and see whether the Pakistani NSA, Sartaj Aziz, brings along some sort of proof to back up these allegations that they have.
Indeed. As far as the incidents are concerned, you did mention about the 2 terror incidents and also the arrest of a terrorist in Jammu and Kashmir. So, as far as the talks itself are concerned, with also cross-border shelling taking place on the border itself and on the line of control, how successful do you believe that these talks are going to be?
Well, ever since Prime Minister Modi invited Prime Minister Sharif to his swearing-in, things have proceeded in fits and spurts. We've had the Indian Foreign Secretary going to Islamabad. There have been a handful of meetings between the 2 prime ministers on foreign shores. But, we haven't really seen things taking off. And there was, in fact, Sartaj Aziz mentioned after returning from Ufa, in Islamabad that India and Pakistan may possibly look towards the track to back-channel diplomacy to kind of drive things forward, to take things forward on tricky issues like Kashmir and terrorism. I really don't see very much coming out of this meeting in New Delhi on August 23rd. Possibly, you know, the two sides will get a chance to clear the air, address their concerns, but whether this will lead to a full-scale resumption of, dialogue, I'm not too sure.
But is it also going to, lay the foundation of some more dialogues to come, some higher level dialogues to come in the near future? And what does India expect to take away really from these talks?
Well, one takeaway obviously would be that, India would, I'm sure, provide evidence that has been, gathered following the attack in Udhampur, especially Muhammad Naveed's arrest. I believe the latest reports say that the NIA has gathered very, very good, strong evidence of his roots in the Pakistani Punjab. So that would be one takeaway. I mean, India would obviously take this up with Pakistan in a very forceful way. Secondly, when somebody as powerful as Mr. Ajit Doval and Mr. Sartaj Aziz meet, I'm sure they will lay the grounds for some sort of further meetings. Possibly there will be talks on how they can take forward the back-channel diplomacy. So there will be some takeaways which will have, maybe a long-term effect. But in the short term, I don't see much happening.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Rezal Hassan, thank you so much for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us as far as the talks, the NSA level talks are concerned. Moving on now, Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif will be holding meetings with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. Zarif, who arrived in India yesterday on a 20-hour visit, will also call on the Vice President. He will later meet External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and also hold a meeting with Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari. During talks with Modi, Swaraj and Gadkari, both sides are expected to discuss increasing Indian imports of Iranian oil and boosting trade. India is a major importer of oil from Iran. Discussions on Iran's Chabahar port, which India is upgrading, are also set to be a major focus of talks. Zarif's visit comes after the historic nuclear agreement arrived at between Iran and 6 world powers. He has embarked on a regional tour to inform about the Iran nuclear agreement. It's time for a short break now, but still to come. Security tightened all over the country ahead of Independence Day tomorrow. That and much more on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What we need in this country is a kind of respect for science. I think scientists would value social respect even more than money. The investments in science and technology are actually falling. They have to increase. Don't start doing something that's already fashionable. Find an area that is not fashionable today and try to make it fashionable tomorrow.
Watch Eureka with Professor R. Gadakkar, Professor at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, on Rajya Sabha television. Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, a multi-layered security cover is in place in the national capital ahead of Independence Day, with over 40,000 security personnel keeping vigil across the city against any possible terror strike. Drawn from paramilitary forces and the Delhi police, over 12,000 of these personnel have been deployed in and around the Red Fort, from where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the nation on Saturday. Meanwhile, authorities in Jammu and Kashmir are taking extraordinary steps to thwart any attempts by militants to disrupt the Independence Day celebrations. Paramilitary troops have secured various venues across Kashmir Valley where official parades and flag-hoisting ceremonies will be held on the day. Additional checking points manned by the CRPF and the police have also been set up in Srinagar. Meanwhile, President Pranab Mukherjee will address the nation on the eve of the 69th Independence Day. All India Radio and Doordarshan will broadcast the address at 7 p.m. today. Air will also later broadcast the address in Hindi and other regional languages.
All kinds of arrangements will be in place, and in all communication setup will be in place. Everybody will be on wireless network. And not only this area like railway and metro, they will all stations, they will be on high alert also. Staff is being deployed on all railway stations. Staff is being deployed on all metro stations, and they are being checked regularly now. And areas like in this area, like the Rashtrapati Bhavan, PM House, and all ministries, and they all are under high alert.
सिक्योरिटी अरेंजमेंट्स फुल प्रूफ होंगे 15 अगस्त के लिए, और क्योंकि ये तो हमारे रिस्पांसिबिलिटी है सिविल मैडम की, पुलिस की, कि हम लोगों की जान माल की तहफ़्फ़ुज़ करें। आईडी का तो हमने नाके लगा दिए हैं हर जगह, वहाँ पे मजिस्ट्रेट्स पुलिस अलर्ट पे है। हम चाहते हैं कि लोग अमन की तरफ, शांति की तरफ जाए।
Meanwhile, the Home Ministry will get its own online channel. Minister of State Kiran Rijiju will launch the Home Ministry's YouTube channel today. The channel will disseminate information of the Home Ministry and is expected to strengthen its online presence besides being active on social media sites like Twitter and Facebook. The YouTube channel will be launched by screening of Saal Ek Shuruaat Anek, a film produced by the Home Ministry on completion of 1 year of the BJP-led government. Moving on to our top international focus now, a team of chemical experts are in North China to investigate the cause of the massive explosion that ripped through the port city of Tianjin on Wednesday night. At least 50 people have been killed and hundreds wounded. It's still not clear if the explosion was caused by a chemical leak. Meanwhile, over 3,000 residents spent the night in makeshift camps as authorities tried to contain the massive fire. Here's more.
Devastation everywhere. Hollowed out buildings, anguished faces. A chemical odor hangs in the air. Fires are still burning in waterfront industrial district. Nearly 3,500 residents spent their night in temporary shelters, most of them wounded with glass or shrapnel cuts. Over 200 chemical experts from Chinese army is in Tianjin. They will first test the air for toxic gases. A team from International Atomic Energy Agency's Beijing Environmental Emergency Response Center is also in Tianjin. Ruhai Logistics owns the warehouse that exploded. According to reports, they handle toxic chemicals including sodium cyanide and toluene diisocyanate. The blasts on Wednesday night killed at least 50 people, including a dozen firefighters. Over 700 people are injured. The explosions at the port city was the world's 10th largest. It was so big that it could be seen by satellites in space and even on earthquake sensors. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, fresh US reports suggest that the Islamic State might be using chemical weapons in its war against Kurdish forces. During an attack early this week, IS used mustard agent, the first shocking indication that the militant group has obtained a banned chemical weapon. German officials confirmed that Kurdish troops suffered breathing difficulties following an attack near the city of Erbil. However, they are still not sure of the chemical agent. The terror groups have previously been accused of using chlorine gas against Kurdish fighters. Officials suggest that IS might have obtained chemical weapons from Syria or Iraq. Syria possessed enormous quantities of chemical agents before they gave it up in 2013 following UN intervention. Syrian President Assad had said that they had destroyed all its stockpile of chemical weapons. Well, let's take a look now at the other international stories in our segment World Wrap. UK is all set to lodge a formal protest against the government of Ecuador over their stand on WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. The move comes after the Swedish officials were forced to drop investigations into 2 cases of alleged sexual charges against Assange as they ran out of time. Assange had sought asylum at London's Ecuadorian embassy in 2012 to avoid extradition to Sweden. He still faces more serious allegations of rape. Greece's ruling Syriza party might be heading for a split over the bailout agreements. The Greek parliament witnessed a war of words between the MPs as they prepared to vote on the bailout agreement. However, a confident Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras said that the deal will ensure economic security. MPs will vote for a memorandum of understanding to be adopted before Eurozone ministers can endorse the draft deal worth about 85 billion euros. Well, Russia has added more countries to its list of food import bans in retaliation to Western sanctions over the ongoing Ukrainian crisis. The ban would now apply to Iceland, Liechtenstein, Albania and Montenegro. Russian Prime Minister Medvedev added that Ukraine would be added in 2016 if an economic agreement between Kiev and the European Union came into force. Turkey might soon go to polls as the coalition talks failed to reach a consensus over the political turmoil in the country. Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu said that he wanted new elections as soon as possible. The ruling AK party lost its majority in national elections 2 months ago. The move comes amid rising tensions in Turkish borders with Iraq and Syria. Since the June vote, a ceasefire with the Kurdish forces has also ended. A state of emergency will continue for 1 more day in the US city of Ferguson. Protests have been largely peaceful. However, the police forces remain vigilant. An emergency was declared in Ferguson and surrounding areas early on Monday after police forces shot and critically wounded a man in an exchange of gunfire on Sunday. People were demonstrating on the death anniversary of Michael Brown, who was allegedly killed by a white police officer on August 9, 2014. Well, moving on to some sports news now. Thursday was a great day for Indian shuttlers at the World Badminton Championship in Jakarta. Here's a quick roundup of the matches.
Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu and the pair of Jwala Gutta and Ashwini Ponappa entered into the quarterfinals of the World Badminton Championship in Jakarta. Two-time World Championship bronze medalist Sindhu put herself well on course and knocked out the third-seeded Gioroi 21-17, 14-21, 21-17 in 50 minutes to enter the last 8. This was 11th seed Sindhu's second win out of 4 meetings against the world number 3 and former number 1 player. World number 2 Saina Nehwal also displayed superb skills to ease past 14th seed Sayaka Takahashi by 21-18, 21-14 in 47 minutes. This will be Saina's 6th consecutive quarterfinal at the Worlds after exiting all previous 5 times at the same stage. In the women's doubles, Jwala Gutta and Ashwini Ponappa earned a thrilling 3-game win over Japanese 8th seed Reika Kakiwa and Miyuki Maeda by 21-15, 18-21, 21-19 and advanced to the last 8. However, there was heartbreak for India in the men's singles competition as world number 3 Kidambi Srikanth and world number 12 HS Pranoy lost their respective matches after grueling battles. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more sports news now. Centuries from opener Shikhar Dhawan and captain Virat Kohli put India in a commanding position in the first test against Sri Lanka. India were bowled out for 375 runs in their first innings with a substantial lead of 192 runs. Continuing the fine form from day one, both batsmen were involved in a 228-run partnership for the third wicket. Sri Lanka got some momentum back in the afternoon session, taking 4 wickets including centurions Dhawan and Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane for a duck. Wicketkeeper Ridhiman Saha struck a useful half-century to push India's lead further. Spinner Tarindu Kaushal took 5 wickets for the hosts. In the second innings, the Lankan openers faltered again. Ashwin and Mishra got the better of them, and day 2 ended with Sri Lanka scoring 5 runs for the loss of 2 wickets.
I feel my short selection has got better, so that's why I'm not getting out on 20-30s or not giving more chances to the opposition, and that's made the major difference.
And here's all the other overnight sports news in our sports beat. Leander Paes makes a return to the country's Davis Cup team as India named a 4-member squad for the World Group playoff tie in Delhi against top seeds Czech Republic from September 18 to the 20th. Paes will replace Saket Mainini in the 4-man team. He will be joined by Rohan Bopanna, Somdev Devvarman and Yuki Bhambre. The Indian hockey team ended their European tour on a high after comfortably beating Spain 4-2 in the final encounter to win the 3-test series 2-1. After losing the first game 1-4, the Indian team came back with a 2-0 victory in the second match. The tour is a preparatory event for the upcoming World League final, which will be played in India later this year. Costa Rica coach Paulo Wanchop resigned after being involved in a brawl with a security guard at the end of an Olympic qualifying match against Panama on Tuesday. Wanchop, who was observing the under-23 team's match, was shown in video footage to retaliate after being pushed by the man. Well, number 1 Novak Djokovic stormed into the quarterfinals of the Rogers Cup with a 6-2, 6-1 demolition of Jack Sock, running his Masters 1,000 winning streak to 28 matches. In another match, second-seeded Andy Murray followed Djokovic into the last 8 in equally emphatic fashion, disposing of Luxembourg's Giles Muller 6-3, 6-2 in a tidy 65 minutes. Australian Nick Kyrgios has publicly apologized for an incendiary comment he made directed at Swiss Stan Wawrinka during a match at the Rogers Cup tennis tournament on Wednesday. Kyrgios privately and publicly apologized and posted an apologetic tweet and comment on Twitter and Facebook. Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.